Sometimes our theology exposes people to harm. Bear with me, I'm going to say some more about that. If you're new here, my name is Joanna Daniel. I'm a trauma-informed counselor, founder of Wounds to Scars, where we work with adult survivors of childhood trauma and women who experience abuse. I write courses for Christian women who are healing from SA and CSA. We're in the second week of one right now. And I've been running these courses for years, been working in this area for many, many years, and hear stories frequently around theology and the way people use the scriptures, the Bible, to harm other people or to uphold and to keep leadership in positions while they've harmed people. Now, I did a video last week about Robert Morris and the CSA of Cindy Clementshire when she was only 12 years old. She was only 12 years old. He was, I think, 21. Many years ago, she disclosed and nothing happened. Leadership knew, his friends knew, but he continued to build churches, support church leadership, travel the world, speak, write, do all the things while everybody knew that he had done this, right? And so many people anyway knew that he had. So I did this video and I talked about Robert Morris going to prison, and somebody made this comment under the video. And I'm going to share my screen and just show you the comment that was made under my video. And this is why sometimes in Christian settings, people are hurt. So this is what the commenter says. They say that he faced biblical discipline from 1987 to 1989 with Cindy's dad, approval and forgiveness. They later chose to unforgive him to face the legal system. And this is where I have a problem. What does biblical discipline mean? And what does that have to do when somebody has committed a crime? And if we put somebody through the legal system when they've committed a crime, does that mean that we haven't forgiven them? So my response was, I am interested in the concept of biblical discipline when a crime is being committed. And I'm also interested in a concept when it's something that put other people at risk. So in this idea of biblical discipline, does it negate the fact that a crime was committed? And how extensive is biblical discipline? How effective is it? I mean, in the case of Robert Morris, biblical discipline didn't stop him from speaking, from preaching, from forming churches, from supporting churches and leadership, from exposing him to other vulnerable people. It didn't stop that. So how does biblical discipline work? And, where do we get the idea of biblical discipline? And I always say, I am not a theologian. I'm a counselor. I do therapy. That's what I do. And, I know a fair bit about the word of God. I know him for myself. And so sometimes I can look in the word of God for myself, and there's nowhere in the word of God that I can see that there is any such thing as biblical discipline that is going to exempt somebody when they commit a crime from facing the consequences of those actions. And when somebody has done something like SA or CSA, and the family has graciously and biblically forgiven them, it doesn't mean that they then don't need to face the consequences of their actions. And I think in cases like that, consequences are a loving thing to do. When somebody has an problem of SA and CSA, we have to see it as a problem that can work as a canker, in the church, because what we're doing is saying, okay, biblically, we have disciplined him, whatever that means. Somebody can, explain that to me in the comment section. And we have forgiven him. And now we're leaving them to go hurt other people, because that's what we're doing, exposing other people to harm. So sometimes our theology that is twisted and not rightfully understood expose other people to harm and allow things like this, and sometimes it causes reproach on the church, because now here we are talking about a situation that happened in the 80s, and we're in 2025, and he's just now facing discipline. the legal system that he should have faced many, many, many years ago, and we wouldn't be here today. And so sometimes, you know, the word of God says we're the head as Christians and not the tail, but sometimes we behave like the tail, because sometimes in the world, people like Robert Morris would have been made to face the consequences a long time ago. But because we use forgiveness to cover over a lot of atrocity in Christian settings, then people like him gets away with things and more people get harmed. So if you understand the concept of biblical discipline, let's talk about it in the comment section before. Tell me what's your idea, what you understand biblical discipline to mean, and should it exempt someone who has committed a crime, in this case of SA and CSA, should it exempt them from that? And you know, and if somebody who has committed a crime is forgiven and still has to face the legal system, does it mean that they've not forgiven, as this come into, you know, insinuate that they've unforgiven him and now he has to face the legal system? He was not unforgiven. He was just facing the consequences for the crime that he had committed. So tell me your understanding of biblical discipline. Does it exempt somebody from facing the consequences of a crime that they've committed? And how have you experienced biblical discipline? How has it worked? Let me know also in the comments. Has biblical discipline harmed you? Has something happened to you, to your family member, and they have used biblical discipline to cover it, and now you are left with the pain of dealing with the SA or CSA or whatever crime that was committed, and they've used biblical discipline as a way to cover over and to shield the perpetrator from facing the consequences of their actions?